Silksong tells the story of its world through subtle pieces of lore spread throughout the game. I spent years collecting this lore so that you don't have to. Please take notes. Everything will be on the test. Silksong takes place hundreds of years ago, before cars were invented. You are in the country of Farloom, whose citadel is a beacon for worshippers of bug Christianity. You play as Hornet Silksong, a princess warrior of Hollowess. You've been kidnapped for an unknown reason. Luckily, the spell used to trap you is allergic to butterflies, allowing you to escape. The first town you encounter is Bone Bottom, Alabama. Near unlivable, it's the first stop on the journey to the Citadel. Despite its name, anal is in fact illegal in Bone Bottom. Here, you meet pilgrims on a pilgrimage. The pilgrims of Farloom arrived originally on a boat called the Mayflower. Their pilgrimage will take them to the Citadel, where they will be rewarded for their faith in Jesus Christ. Instead of currency, the pilgrims trade using faith. This faith is measured in beads, which are then used as a form of currency. Hornet next comes across a town whose residents have been trapped in webs of silk. Hornet saves them and the town of Bellheart is restored. Named after Belle Delphine, Bellheart is an important hub of Farloom culture. Hornet's bathwater can be farmed here to sell to the most cultured residents. It's easily the fastest way in the game to get rosaries. Eventually, Hornet clears a path to the Citadel, allowing the pilgrims to follow her. They all settle in Songclave. Songclave is a new town made specifically to spite this guy. Every Tuesday, the town takes turns spitting in his food when he isn't looking. Everyone uses his toilet and doesn't flush. Every year, the town gets together to burn all of his possessions. No one remembers why they harass him, but his regular abuse became vitally ingrained into Songclave culture. As a more conservative town, they did not wish to change the tradition. Now you may be wondering, just who is Hornet Silksong? Hornet is a female clone of Big B, the ultimate bee soldier. She is one of 3 female clones created in the Les Hollow project. This project was led by the Weavers, the shadow organization controlling Hollowess from behind the scenes. Their goal was to create a queen with the ultimate genes to pass on to her offspring. In the Hollowess incident, Hornet faced off against her sister, Hornet Wasp, another clone of Big B. Hornet Wasp aimed to create a new world order under her control. Hornet Wasp received all the recessive genes from Big B, and therefore could only birth recessive bees. Believing her bees to be inferior, she wanted to take down Hornet, the clone with all the dominant bees. Hornet Wasp aimed to do this by stealing Silksong Alpha, a weapon capable of controlling Hollowess. Hornet Wasp was defeated by Hornet, ensuring Silksong Alpha could not be used against Hollowess. I want to talk about 2 of my favorite bosses in the game. My favorite boss is the First Sinner. The First Sinner earned their name by being the first bug to ever masturbate in the Citadel. They were sentenced to life in the Slab, a concentration camp for gooners. Unfortunately, the First Sinner's dress showed so much leg that the jailers had to separate the First Sinner from the other gooners. The First Sinner was placed in solitary confinement in the Goon Cave. 4 locks enchanted with the chastity spell sealed the First Sinner within. Trapped, insanity slowly set in and their libido devolved into a crazed violence. The Cogwork Dancers are one of the most memorable fights in the game. This boss fight actually has some cut content. Their normal moveset is comprised of dance moves that double as attacks. Originally, the Cogwork Dancers had a moveset that was much more sensual. In their second phase, they would start passionately grinding in the middle of the arena. The metal grinding would create sparks that the player would have to dodge. They also had a synchronized double torque attack. The clap of their mechanized ass cheeks created sonic waves that shot at the player. In a moment of post-nut clarity, these attacks were ultimately scrapped in order to avoid an adults-only rating. Now, to properly understand the downfall of Farloom, one must understand the terrorist attack on Bug Shell. Bug Shell was created to combat the plague infecting Hollowess. However, it was taken over by a terrorist group led by the 3rd clone of Big B, Cazadorus Wasp. Cazadorus aimed to seize control of Hollowess away from the Weavers, the group of shadow queens who manipulate Bug society to their own ends. Cazadorus sought to do this by using the Silksong Beta, an advanced version of the Silksong Alpha from the Hollowess incident. He was ultimately defeated by Hornet and Hollow Knight, a mute warrior sent to stop the terrorists taking over Bug Shell. But it turns out, Hollow Knight was actually sent by the Weavers. The Weavers secretly manipulated the events of the Bug Shell attack to mimic the Hollowess incident. They wanted to create their own version of Hornet out of Hollow Knight, as she was the clone that surpassed both Big B and Hornet Wasp. But it turns out that was only half of their goal. The Weavers created a network of artificial insects to determine the future of all bugs in Hollowess, as they believed the common bug cannot be trusted to lead Hollowess on their own. After witnessing the memes of the Silksong subreddit, the Weavers decided that artificial insects should instead decide the future of all bugs. The bug shell attack was a test to see to the extent to which bugs could be controlled. The Weavers used this information in order to control Farloom. Using nanosilk, microscopic pieces of silk capable of permeating the bloodstreams of the common bug, they gain control of Farloom. This is where the events of Silksong take place. Now, I'd like to talk about one of the most interesting characters in the game, Trobio. Trobio brought sexy back to Farloom. Glitter courses through his bloodstream. His favorite hobby is starting drama. However, his legacy was tainted after entering Farloom's biggest reality show. The stage was a recording studio for a show to find Farloom's next top model. In the backstage stage massacre, Trobio committed Farloom's most fabulous mass murder after receiving second place. Trobio slayed and then slayed hundreds of Farloom's most beautiful bugs. He stuffed all of the corpses in a hidden room in White Ward and claimed the stage for himself. He has held the stage since then, and is often heard blasting Sabrina Carpenter ads on the stage speakers. Upon his defeat by Hornet, he becomes fabulously depressed. This starts a hidden side quest to treat Trobio's depression. Every in-game hour, you must go back to the stage and plug the needle in. Holding B and rotating the analog stick will make Hornet play Dancing Queen by ABBA. Keep going until you hear Trobio applaud, and then repeat in an hour. Eventually, Trobio will feel well enough to show off his fantastic new purple look. As a reward, you receive a hand mirror so that whenever you feel down, you can look at it and remember that you're a beautiful soul. Now that you understand the previous events of the timeline, we can get into the actual story of Silksong. The Weavers aim to control Farloom using the info gained from the bug shell attack. Hornet once again takes on the mission of stopping the Weavers, but turns out the Weavers have been dead for centuries. The artificial insects have advanced to the point where they are capable of controlling Farloom themselves. They manifested themselves into a sentient web of silk that stretched out across Farloom. They manipulate Hornet into once again recreating the Hollowess incident only in Farloom this time. They do this by trapping Grandma Silk, the ruler of Farloom, and pinning the blame for Farloom's downfall on her. Now, Grandmama Silk created a daughter purely out of nanosilk and superglue. This daughter is named Lace. Lace acts as an agent of Grandmommy Silk sent to stop Hornet. In their first encounter, Hornet defeats Lace and chops off her arm. However, Hornet lets Lace go, saying she couldn't bear to deprive Farloom of an ass that fat. Before we get into the story of the last act, I'll let you in on another secret. Tucked away in a far corner of the map, you can discover the secret crossover that Silksong did with another gaming franchise. That's right, Sonic the Hedgehog is here, and he aims to be the fastest creature in Farloom. He challenges you to 3 races to determine who is the fastest. After you win the first race, Shadow the Hedgehog appears and taunts Sonic.
You're a beta male, Sonic.
After beating Sonic at all 3 races, he gets pretty sad but snaps out of it quickly, mentioning that therapy has really been helping with his competitiveness. To Shadow's dismay, Sonic gives you a Chaos Emerald as a reward. Shadow complains at first, but in the end, he allows you to have it, saying that therapy has really been helping with his OCD for collecting the Chaos Emeralds. Hornet will display it in her home in Bellheart as a fond reminder of the day she met Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, it's time to talk about the true ending to Silksong. To get the true ending, he talked to the guy in Songclave that everybody hates. Turns out he is one of 3 massive content creators that film epic pranks on unsuspecting bugs. Now, it was time to form a plan to defeat Grandma Silk. Hornet teams up with the 3 content creators to set a trap, but the content creators were actually trolling. The trap they set spreads the Shadow Realm throughout Farloom. At the end of the battle of Hornet and Grandmommy Silk, Gilf Mommy Silk grabs Hornet to trap them in the Shadow Realm together. However, Lace appears and frees Hornet and is dragged down to the Shadow Realm instead. Hornet now aims to end the Weaver AI once and for all and save Lace. She teamed up once again with the 3 content creators. After being cancelled on bug Twitter, they aim to redeem themselves by reversing their epic prank. They create a weapon that can ultimately destroy the Weaver AI. This weapon is Silksong, the final form of the Silksongs from the Hollowess incident and bug shell attack. To create it, Hornet must become a baby to retrieve the blueprints for Silksong. But turns out, the true Silksong is not actually a weapon, it's a flower that contains the purity of baby Hornet, the cutest bug ever created. This concentrated cuteness gives Hornet plot armor so she can enter the Shadow Realm. The final fight of Silksong, the game not the flower, is against Shadow Lace, who has been corrupted by the Shadow Realm. But turns out, Lace's decision to save Hornet earlier was not truly her own. You can see that Shadow Lace has both arms despite one being chopped off by Hornet. This is because she surgically fused the arm of Hornet Wasp to herself in order to gain her power, but Hornet Hornet Wasp's persona remained in the arm because of the nanosilk imprint in her body. Hornet Wasp took over Lace and saved Hornet so that Hornet could defeat the Weaver AI, and so that Hornet and Shadow Hornet Lace could have one last fight to determine who is the superior clone of Big B. You see, Hornet Lace wanted to be sent to the Shadow Realm in order to gain its power. She knew Hornet would save her, thus freeing her from the Shadow Realm so she can use its power. But you see, the Weaver AI wanted this battle to happen. They predicted Shadow Hornet Lace would defeat Hornet, and afterwards they would use the Nanosilk and Shadow Realm bits to Hornet Lace's body to control Farloom, using her as a puppet queen. But Hornet defeats Shadow Hornet Lace with Silksong, ruining the Weaver AI's plans and saving Farloom. And that concludes the true ending of Silksong. But turns out Big B was alive all along. The cells of his dead body were transplanted into a mushroom, and he secretly followed Hornet throughout her journey. Big B reveals that Hornet Lace was never actually controlled by Hornet Wasp. Lace instead used a combination of nanosilk and hypnospells in order to brainwash herself into believing she was Hornet Lace. She did this in order to trick the Weaver AI so that instead of the predicted outcome of Hornet Lace winning the final battle against Hornet, Hornet defeats Hornet Lace, who is actually just Lace. In the end, Lace and Hornet succeed in freeing Farloom for the control of the Weaver AI. And that's it for this video. Everything you heard is 100% correct, and all the other Silksong lore YouTubers are lying. Share this video with everyone you know. The truth will not be suppressed. Okay, bye.